When God prepares to release a blessing that will shift a woman's entire destiny, He rarely does it in silence. Heaven speaks through signs, whispers through circumstances, and aligns her life in ways she cannot always explain but can deeply sense. Before the blessing arrives, God prepares the woman who must carry it. He strengthens her spirit, sharpens her discernment, and stretches her capacity. Not because the blessing is delayed, but because the blessing is heavy. And anything heavy must be carried by someone strong enough to handle it. A woman on the edge of divine breakthrough begins to feel a holy discontent. What used to satisfy no longer does. What used to comfort now irritates her spirit. She is no longer able to shrink into spaces she has outgrown. God disturbs her comfort because He is preparing her for a higher calling. The dissatisfaction is not punishment, it's direction. Her spirit is being repositioned to receive more. Then comes the pruning. God will begin cutting off relationships that no longer align with her destiny. Some people will walk away without warning. Some doors will close even when she knocked with pure intentions. Some opportunity she once wanted will suddenly feel too small. At first, she may think she is losing, but heaven knows she is being protected. Before God blesses a woman, He isolates her from anything that will contaminate the blessing. What looks like separation is preparation. Another sign is an unusual inner strength. She may not feel strong, yet somehow she is not breaking. She endures storms that would have crushed her in the past. She carries responsibilities she once feared. She faces situations with wisdom she did not learn in books. This strength is not natural. It is imparted. God equips her for the season she is stepping into, giving her divine resilience to handle what is coming. Then God awakens her vision. She starts dreaming bigger, seeing clearer, and desiring things that match her true identity. She feels drawn to purpose, not popularity. She becomes hungry for meaning, not applause. Her inner world shifts. Her priorities elevate. Her spirit begins to crave the environment of her future more than the familiarity of her past. This is God reorganizing her life from the inside out. A powerful sign appears when her battles become intense. Every great blessing attracts warfare. Pressure increases, distractions rise, fake people reveal themselves, and unexpected challenges show up. But these battles are not signs of God's absence. They are proof of His nearness. The enemy attacks hardest when a woman is closest to her breakthrough. The warfare is a divine announcement. Something big is coming. Finally, she feels a supernatural peace she cannot explain. Even when she doesn't have answers, she has assurance. Even without clarity, she has calm. Even in transition, she feels carried. This peace is heaven's signature. It is God whispering, "You are right where I need you. Stay steady. The blessing is already on the way." A woman who notices these signs must not panic or question the process. She must stand firm, stay faithful, and remain expectant. For when God is preparing to bless a woman, nothing can stop what He has ordained. The signs are simply reminders. He is near, He is working, and the blessing is closer than she thinks. When God is about to elevate a woman into her divine purpose, one of the first signs she will experience is a deep, undeniable sense of holy discontent. This is not ordinary dissatisfaction with life, nor is it a fleeting moment of unhappiness. This is a divine stirring within her spirit, a sacred unrest that shakes her out of complacency and refuses to let her settle for mediocrity. She will look around at her circumstances, her relationships, her work, and even her familiar routines. And she will begin to notice that they no longer satisfy her soul. Things that once brought comfort now feel empty. And the familiar suddenly seems too small for the destiny that is awakening within her. This restlessness is not a curse, but a signal that God is preparing her for something far greater than she has known. Holy discontent is a necessary part of preparation. It awakens her to the reality that there is more to life than she has been living, that her potential is bigger than her current situation. She may feel frustrated with the limitations that surround her, but this frustration is purposeful. It is God's way of shaking her out of the false sense of security that keeps her from stepping into her destiny. In this season, she begins to evaluate every aspect of her life. She asks herself questions she has never dared to ask before. Am I truly fulfilling my purpose? Am I living in alignment with the vision God has given me? Have I been settling for comfort instead of chasing destiny? These questions rise from within, not from the outside world, and they demand honest reflection and decisive action. This holy discontent is also a call to growth. It exposes areas in her character that need refinement, challenges her to confront fear, pride, and complacency, and compels her to stretch beyond what is familiar. She cannot ignore this divine unrest without risking stagnation. The very things that make her uncomfortable are the things God is using to elevate her. If she resists the discomfort, she resists the blessing. If she flees the unease, she flees the purpose. But if she embraces the stirring in her spirit, she will discover a depth of courage, faith, and perseverance that she never knew existed. It is in this season of holy discontent that a woman begins to recognize her true value. She refuses to compromise her calling for temporary satisfaction. She stops chasing approval, wealth, or recognition that does not align with her higher purpose. Instead, she begins to seek the things that feed her spirit, the pursuit that stretch her mind, and the relationships that nurture her growth. The dissatisfaction that once felt like frustration transforms into motivation, and the longing she feels becomes a compass guiding her toward her destiny. Ultimately, holy discontent is a sign that God is preparing her for a blessing that is larger than life itself. It is the whisper of heaven saying, you are not meant to stay where you are. I have a greater plan for you. She must learn to welcome this sacred unrest, to lean into it with faith, patience, and expectation. For it is in the tension between dissatisfaction and faith that her character is strengthened. Her vision is clarified, and her readiness to receive the divine breakthrough is perfected. The holy discontent is not a curse, it is a sacred invitation, a divine signal that something magnificent is on the horizon, and she is being prepared to step into it fully. When God is about to bless a woman with something big, one of the clearest signs is that her relationships and attachments begin to shift. This is not a random occurrence, nor is it a punishment. It is divine alignment. God is preparing her environment so that it matches the magnitude of the blessing that is on its way. Just as a gardener prunes a tree to ensure it bears the best fruit, God begins to remove from her life those relationships and connections that no longer serve her destiny. Some people who were once close will drift away. Some friendships that seemed permanent will fade without explanation. Even family or colleagues may no longer understand her journey. And this is part of the divine process. It is not a reflection of her failure or theirs, but a necessary repositioning orchestrated by God to protect the blessing. As attachments shift, she begins to notice the subtle ways in which certain people or patterns were limiting her growth. Conversations that once inspired now drain her. Connections that once felt supportive now seem to weigh heavily on her spirit. She may feel a sense of loss or confusion at first, but this is temporary. What she is experiencing is not abandonment, but liberation. God is creating space in her life for what is new, greater, and aligned with her purpose. The void left by people or situations that are removed is intentional. It is a preparation for relationships, opportunities, and connections that will amplify her blessing rather than diminish it. This shifting of relationships also teaches her discernment. She begins to understand that not everyone can walk with her into the next season. Some people are meant to be part of her past, while others are sent to guide, mentor, or support her in the future. She learns to let go of toxic attachments without guilt, recognizing that letting go is an act of faith. Holding on to relationships that no longer align with her vision is like carrying a weight that will prevent her from rising. God is showing her that her environment must be a reflection of her calling, and every person she keeps close must add value, purpose, or encouragement to the path she is meant to walk. At the same time, she begins to experience a divine redirection in her connection. New people start to enter her life, often unexpectedly, who bring wisdom, opportunities, or support she has never known. These are relationships that feel effortless, harmonious, and aligned with her destiny. They may challenge her in ways that stretch her faith, but they also strengthen her character and expand her influence. She begins to see that the people around her are not just companions, they are part of the divine architecture of her breakthrough. Every shift, every closure, every opening is purposeful. God is shaping her community to match the magnitude of what He is about to release in her life. Ultimately, The shifting of relationships and attachments is a sign of growth and preparation. She's learning that her circle must reflect her calling, that her environment must support her vision, and that her closest connections must resonate with the destiny she is stepping into. This is not always easy, but it is necessary. The blessing she is about to receive is too big for her old relationships to contain. She must embrace the shifts, trust the process, and step boldly into a new season where the right people, opportunities, and influences are perfectly aligned to elevate her. This divine reordering of relationships is proof that something monumental is coming. It signals that God is clearing the way for her breakthrough and teaching her that attachment is not about holding on, but about positioning herself for the fullness of what she is meant to receive. When relationships shift, it is not loss. It is preparation for a higher level of blessing, a calling that demands the right environment and the right people to walk with her into the destiny God has prepared. When God is about to bless a woman with something significant, one of the most profound signs is the expansion of her inner strength. This strength is not something she gains from books, training, or the applause of others. It is a power that rises from within, a quiet yet unshakable force that is cultivated by God Himself. She may not feel strong in her natural ability, yet somehow she finds the capacity to endure, to persevere, and to rise above challenges that once would have defeated her. This is the hand of God at work, strengthening her spirit for the weight of the blessing that is coming. As her inner strength expands, she begins to handle responsibilities that once overwhelmed her. Situations that would have caused fear or hesitation now become opportunities for growth. The pressures that arise in her personal life, career, or calling no longer crush her. Instead, they refine her character, sharpen her judgment, and stretch her capability. She learns to stand firm even when circumstances are chaotic, knowing that every challenge is part of the preparation for a greater purpose. This strength is not merely about endurance. It is about becoming a vessel capable of carrying the fullness of God's plan without being shaken by opposition or distraction. A woman whose inner strength is expanding discovers resilience she never knew she had. She begins to navigate storms with wisdom rather than panic, to confront difficulties with faith rather than fear. She becomes disciplined in her emotions, maintaining calm in the face of provocation and clarity when confusion surrounds her. This strength grows quietly, often unnoticed by others, but it is profoundly evident in the way she responds to life. What appears as ordinary determination to the world is in fact extraordinary divine empowerment. She realizes that the source of this strength is not herself. It is God working through her, elevating her spirit to a level that matches the blessing on its way. Her expanded inner strength also brings clarity of purpose. As she grows stronger within, she no longer allows circumstances, opinions, or setbacks to define her identity. She becomes confident in her calling and unwavering in her values. Challenges that once discouraged her now motivate her to rise higher. Opposition that once caused doubt now sharpens her focus. She begins to see every struggle as a training ground for the breakthrough that is imminent. The more she leans into this inner fortitude, the more equipped she becomes to handle not just the blessing itself, but the responsibility and influence that come with it. This expanding strength does not mean the absence of difficulty. On the contrary, God often allows the storm to grow so that her strength can be fully revealed and perfected. She faces trials, but she is no longer fragile. She confronts opposition, but she is no longer afraid. She makes decisions that impact her future. And though the stakes are high, she moves with courage, faith, and wisdom. Every challenge she endures adds layers to her resilience and depth to her character. By the time the blessing arrives, she is not just ready, she is strong enough to carry it with integrity, humility, purpose. Ultimately, the expansion of inner strength is a sign that God is equipping her to receive what is greater than anything she has ever imagined. It is proof that she has been prepared for the season ahead, that she can withstand trials, and that she is capable of stepping into destiny fully. The blessing she is about to receive is significant, And God will not give it to a woman who is unprepared. Her inner strength is the divine insurance, the spiritual fortification that ensures. She will not be overwhelmed when the fullness of her blessing arrives. In this season, she must recognize the growth within, trust in the power being cultivated, and step boldly forward, knowing that the strength she feels is the very proof that her breakthrough is near. When God is about to bless a woman with something monumental, the clearest signs is that her vision and desires begin to transform. This transformation does not happen overnight. It is a gradual, divine awakening that shifts her thinking, her goals, and even the very yearnings of her heart. She begins to see beyond the limitations of her current circumstances. The ordinary no longer satisfies, and what once seemed like ambition now feels too small. Her spirit awakens to the realization that she was created for far greater things than she had pursued, and her desires begin to align with the higher calling that God has placed within her. As her vision transforms, she begins to dream bigger, not in the sense of chasing vanity or fleeting success, but in the sense of pursuing destiny. She sees possibilities that she could not see before. Opportunities that were invisible to her eyes now become clear. She begins to understand that her life is meant to impact others, to influence her community, and to leave a legacy that transcends time. This clarity is a divine revelation, a glimpse into the life God has ordained for her. What she once thought was enough is no longer sufficient. Her vision expands because her blessing is expanding, and God is preparing her to think, plan, and act at the level of her new assignment. Her desires transform alongside her vision. She begins to desire things that feed her spirit rather than satisfy her ego. She becomes hungry for purpose over popularity, for depth over distraction, for influence that elevates others rather than merely elevating herself. She no longer chases fleeting pleasures or temporary validation. Instead, her heart yearns for fulfillment that comes from living in alignment with her true calling. These new desires are not accidental. They are divinely placed, guiding her toward the people, opportunities, and experiences that will shape her breakthrough. The transformation of vision and desire also brings discernment. She starts to recognize that not every opportunity or relationship is meant for her. What she once wanted may now feel insufficient or even wrong for the path she is on. God is teaching her to see through the lens of destiny rather than impulse. Every choice she makes begins to reflect a higher wisdom, a greater understanding of her purpose, and a clear alignment with the life she is meant to lead. She begins to prioritize what matters most and release what distracts or diminishes her growth. As this transformation continues, she experiences an inner peace and confidence that was previously absent. She no longer doubts the worthiness of her dreams or the feasibility of her goals. She understands that God is guiding her steps and orchestrating circumstances in her favor. Her vision becomes a compass. Her desires become a motivation. And her faith becomes the fuel that propels her forward. Even in the face of obstacles, she moves with clarity and determination, knowing that what she now sees and desires is not of her own making, it is divinely appointed. Ultimately, the transformation of vision and desires is a clear sign that God is preparing her for a blessing far greater than she has ever experienced. It signals that she is entering a new season where her perspective is elevated, her heart is aligned, and her spirit is ready to receive. She must embrace this transformation, trust the shifts within her, and move boldly toward the destiny she is now able to see. For when God changes a woman's vision and desires, He is not merely changing her thoughts. He is revealing the blueprint of the life she was created to live, preparing her to walk fully into the fullness of her divine blessing. When God is about to release a significant blessing into a woman's life, one unmistakable sign is that warfare intensifies before the breakthrough. This is not coincidence, nor is it a reflection of weakness. It is a natural part of the process when heaven is about to release something of great value. Every great blessing carries weight, influence, and purpose. And the enemy is always aware of the potential impact. Just as darkness rises before the dawn, opposition increases before God's favor is fully realized. The closer a woman gets to her breakthrough, the more resistance she will face. And this is both inevitable and purposeful. The warfare she experiences can take many forms. She may face unexpected challenges in her personal life, opposition at work, or conflict in relationships. Some people may betray her trust. An opportunity she has been working toward may seem delayed or obstructed. Even her own mind may become a battlefield filled with doubt, fear, and confusion. These trials are not meant to destroy her. They are designed to reveal her faith, refine her character, and strengthen her resolve. They are tests that determine whether she is ready to carry the blessing that is coming. Pressure is a companion to purpose. God allows circumstances to intensify, not to punish, but to prepare her for the responsibility and magnitude of what is about to arrive. When challenges escalate, she discovers reserves of strength, wisdom, and endurance that she did not know she possessed. She learns to respond with patience rather than frustration, with faith rather than fear, and with integrity rather than compromise. Every difficulty becomes an opportunity to grow stronger, to sharpen her vision, and to deepen her reliance on God. The warfare is both a proving ground and a preparation stage, ensuring that when the blessing arrives, she is fully equipped to handle it. A woman in this season begins to understand that opposition is a confirmation, not a contradiction. The intensifying battles are a sign that she's on the right path. Just as a diamond is formed under pressure, her breakthrough is being shaped in the furnace of resistance. The enemy attacks because he recognizes the significance of what God is doing, and his efforts, no matter how persistent, cannot prevent the divine plan. This knowledge transforms the way she approaches challenges. She no longer views them as setbacks, but as signs that something extraordinary is coming, and that God is in control of every detail. Warfare before breakthrough also teaches discernment and perseverance. She learns to distinguish between real obstacles and distraction. She understands that not every attack requires a response, and that patience is often more powerful than reaction. She becomes strategic, prayerful, and wise in navigating opposition, knowing that her ultimate victory is not dependent on avoiding struggle, but on maintaining faith, integrity, and focus amidst it. Every trial she endures with trust strengthens her character and increases her capacity to receive the blessing fully. Ultimately, the intensification of warfare is a divine signal. Her breakthrough is near. The turbulence she experiences is not a reflection of God's absence, but a herald of his presence. He is preparing her, equipping her, and strengthening her so that when the blessing arrives, she can embrace it with maturity, confidence, and authority. The battles are not barriers, they are announcements. The enemy may try to distract, delay, or intimidate, but he cannot stop the divine plan. Every storm she faces is a prelude to victory, and every challenge is a testimony to the greatness of what God is about to do. A woman who recognizes this will not be discouraged, for she knows that the warfare is temporary and the breakthrough is eternal.